Welcome to your long division review. Okay, so the first problem we're going to go over today is actually from your review. So if you don't have your math review, this would be a good time to pause the video and go get it. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. The problem says that Leon has 1,353 bottle caps in his collection. He decides to separate them evenly into 47 boxes. How many full boxes will he be able to make? When I read this problem, the first thing that popped out in my mind were the words separate them evenly, which is a good clue that tells us that we are going to divide. So let's go ahead and get started by taking 1,353 and we're going to divide that by 47. We want to go ahead and make sure before we start doing our algorithm that we have a space to work our compatible number with. So I'm going to look at my divisor, 47, and I'm going to think of, I'm going to use the number 50. That's close to 47. And I can easily figure out those multiples of 50 real quickly. Then I'm going to make sure I set up my multiplication work zone. I'm going to write 47, and I'm going to draw my line. All right, now we're ready to go. So I'm going to go back to my original problem and think, how many times can 47 go into 1? The answer is 0. I'm going to place a 0 on top of the number 1. Now I'm thinking, how many times can 47 go into 13? Still 0 times. Now I'm thinking, how many times can 47 go into 135? And I finally have a number that's big enough that I can now start dividing. So I'm going to go back to my compatible number, and I know one group of 50 will give me 50. 2 groups is going to give me 100. 3 groups will give me 150. And looking at my number 135, I can see right away that I can stop and that I'm going to use the number 2. I think 3 is going to be too large based on the fact that 3 groups of 50 would be 150. So now I'm going to multiply 47 times 2. Regroup my 1. That'll give me 94. So after I multiply 47 times 2, I write that answer directly underneath the number I just divided, 135. Back to my algorithm, the next step is to subtract. 5 minus 4 will give me 1. I've got to borrow. 13 minus 9 will give me 4. And now I'm going to check. I'm checking to make sure that my answer here, 41, is less than my divisor. And it is, and that's good. That means we can go ahead and move on to the next step. If my number had been larger or equal to, I would have gone back and readjust my quotient. All right, so now I'm going to start this algorithm all over again. I'm back to the repeat, and I'm going to think about how many times can 47 go into 413. Well, I'm going to go back to my compatible number for sure. We left off with 3 groups of 150. So 4 groups is going to give me 200. 5 groups will give me 250. 6 groups will give me 300. I'm going to keep going. I'm not close at all yet to my number 113. 7 groups will give me 350. 8 groups will give me 400. And that's probably where I'm going to stop. I'm going to go with the 8. That's gotten me close to 413. I'm going to go back to my multiplication zone, and I'm multiplying now 47 times 8. And that's going to give me 37. 4 times 8 is 32, plus 5 makes 37. I'm going to write that directly underneath the number that I just divided. Next part of my algorithm is to subtract. And 13 minus 6 will give me 7, and I'm going to borrow there, and 10 minus 7 will give me 3. And now I check, is 37 less than 47? The answer is yes, so looking at my algorithm, we're supposed to bring down a digit next, and I don't have one to bring down, which means that this 37 is our remainder. Okay, and of course, annoying cousin always comes into the scene and reminds us to check our work. And we do that by taking our divisor and our answer of 28 and multiplying them. 8 times 7 will give me 56. I'm going to regroup. 32 plus 5 will give me 37. I'm going to cross that out and erase that up there. I'm going to add my 0 to represent multiplying 47 times 20. 2 times 7 will give me 14. Regroup my 1. 2 times 4 gives me 8, plus 1 more will give me 9. Now I'm going to add, I get 6 and 11 plus 1 more will give me 13. Now, I had a remainder, so in order to get my numbers to work out, I have to add that remainder back in for my check. So I'm going to add plus 37. And 6 plus 7 is 13. Regroup my 1. And 2 plus 3 is 5. 3. And there we go, 1,353. So I want to draw your attention back to the question, because this question, it forces you to decide, is this remainder important in our final answer or not? It asks you how many full boxes will he be able to make with these bottle caps? Well, as you can see, 37 is not enough to make a full box. And the question wants to know how many full boxes he will be able to make. And he will only be able to make 28 full boxes. He'll just have some bottle caps that don't go in the box. So let's go ahead and go over one more. We are going to take 1,285 and divide it by 32. So to start, we are going to use a compatible number for our 32, and I'm going to think 30. 30 is a friendly number that's close to 32. I'm going to set it up over here. I'm also going to create my work zone for the multiplication step of our algorithm, and I'm going to do that by writing 32 down in that box. It's our multiply zone. And now we're ready to start the algorithm. Why don't you go ahead and try this one on your own? All right, let's see how you did. So we start by dividing and asking ourselves, how many times can 32 go into 1? The answer is 0. We move on to thinking 12. How many times can 32 go into 12? It'll go in at 0 times. And now we're thinking 128. How many times can 32 go into 128? I'm going to go back to my compatible number. We know one group of 30 will give us 30. 2 groups will give us 60. 3 groups will give us 90. Let's see, 4 times 3 is 12. 4 groups of 30 will give us 120. I'm going to stop right there because 120 is really close to 128. And 30 is less than my divisor 32, so I'm pretty sure this is going to work. So I'm going to go ahead and put my 4 up there. And I'm going to multiply 32 times 4 now. And I get 128. I'm going to write that directly underneath the 128. My next step is to subtract. We're going to get 0. We check, is this answer less than our divisor? Yes, 0 is less than 32. I can move on to the rest of my algorithm, which is bring down my 5. And Rover says after you bring down a number, you must repeat the algorithm. So we're going to go back up to divide and ask ourselves, how many times can 32 go into 5? It can go into 5 0 times. My next step is to multiply. 32 times 0 is 0. Write my 0 and subtract, and I get 5. Now that we don't have any digits left to bring down, we know that 5 is going to be our remainder. And annoying cousin, everybody's favorite, reminds us that we are going to check our answer. So I check my answer by taking 40 and multiplying it times 32. My divisor times my quotient. 2 times 0 will give me 0. 2 times 4 will give me 8. Add your 0. Cross out that 2. 3 times 0 will be 0. 3 times 4 will be 12. I'm going to add our two products together. 8, 2, 1. 1,280. And remember, we've got to add back in our remainder. And when we do that, you see that we got it right. I think y'all are ready for the test. I know you're going to rock it. Everybody have a good evening. I'll see you tomorrow.